we have a saying that we just created last week. Whatever you procrastinate, delegate. So if you find yourself
Yeah.
procrastinating, find someone to delegate. I procrastinate on anything financial based. If I'm running numbers and running finances and keeping books, man, it's always the last thing on my list. So someone does it for me. And we have a conversation every week and we talk about the numbers. And it's easy for me because I have somebody who's very good at doing the numbers, having conversations with me and making meaning of those numbers.
Bringing you the biggest names and brightest minds in fitness to give you behind the scenes access and how they created some of the most profitable and sustainable businesses the industry's ever seen. Having deep conversations about the shit that most fitness entrepreneurs don't want to talk about but have to in order to create a business that'll thrive for years to come. Dropping the knowledge and tools necessary to help you follow in their footsteps and create an empire of your own. I'm Sebastiano Mangiafico. This is FitBiz Talk. Welcome to episode 2 of FitBiz Talk, and on today's show we have Mike Bledsoe. For those of you that don't know, Mike's moved on from his role at Barbell Shrugged and is now focusing on his initiatives with Enlifted, Strong Coach, and Training Camp for the Soul. And Mike has years upon years of experience in the fitness industry, working directly with coaches, working directly with gym owners, not only to increase their own value as an individual, but also how to create a business that'll last for years to come. So on this episode, we dive a little bit into Mike's transition out of Barbell Shrugged, the reasons why he did that, and talks about the 3 projects he's working on and how all 3 of those can really create an individual who is not only strong within themselves, but also has a badass business. Enjoy the show. How's it going, Mike?
It's going great. Loving life. Monday morning is good here in California.
How's the weather out there? I heard it's been kind of hot.
It's perfect.
No?
I think it's 72 degrees and sunny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not in Florida. It's the exact opposite. Hot and humid.
Yeah.
So I've been a longtime fan, followed you for years, from Barbell Shrugged to Barbell Collective, Barbell Business. Followed some of your programs that you released over the years with Flight and Barbell Shredded. And now you've kind of moved on to some other projects with Enlifted, Strong Coach, and Training Camp for the Soul. Talk about what the strategy is now in terms of what you're trying to accomplish with those programs.
Strategy. Jeez. It's
got to be a strategy there, probably.
I like to think that I'm a subconscious strategist. So it's actually really interesting that there actually is it looks like there's this master plan, and that there must have been this mastermind who's a genius that put it all together. And that's not really the case.
Just going with the flow, whatever your calling is right now. Well, your calling looks like a master plan, so it must be going well.
You know what? One of the things that I've learned about myself is that if I try to get into too much planning, too much master planning, and I get too much in my head, then what ends up happening is things will be good, but it'll look a lot like what other people are doing, because it's hard. And one of the things I made a commitment to, so you mentioned Training Camp for the Soul. A little over a year and a half ago, I did some work with the head facilitator for Training Camp for the Soul. I spent a 1-week retreat with her, and it tore me to pieces. It broke me down in a really good way. It was one of those things. By the end of the week, I was experiencing joy and happiness at the highest level. And one of the things that happens in the retreat working with her, and by the way, halfway through that retreat, I said, I have to help you with this. It was called something else, and she was just getting clients as they came in. And I go, this work is so powerful that this needs to get in front of more people. And one of the things that I do best is I get people to places. Like, hey, y'all should come with me over here. It's a lot cooler over here. And she agreed. And one of the results of Training Camp for the Soul for me was that I realized that a lot of the things I was doing was based out of fear and out of, doing the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing and the things I thought I was supposed to be doing. And what I realized was everything I had done up to that point was for other people. It wasn't for me. And even though I had that concept already, and I thought I was already doing it, but everything felt hard, and everything, even if I made a lot of money, it still didn't feel good. And there was this resistance in my body. And I realized, I go, wow, none of what I've done up to this point is really in 100% complete alignment with me. And when I mean alignment, I can really speak that more clearly, which is emotionally, mentally, and actions. So when we can align our emotions, our thoughts, and our actions, that is a really simple way of saying alignment. And I want to say that because a lot of times people go, alignment, I don't know what the hell that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel aligned, and when you align those three things become easy and fun and inspired. And so when those three things are lined up, you get to act out of inspiration. And if those are not aligned, then it's desperation. And so I was not completely aligned in what I was doing previously. There was a point where I was, but I had drifted away from it. And I did that retreat, and I go, you know what? I'm out of alignment, and I don't even know what alignment looks like. So I'm not going to do anything. So I went to my business partner, Doug, and I said, hey, I'm done with Shrugged. This was a year and a half ago. And
just like that, I'm done.
Yeah. And we started the conversation of how to wind the company down. And then Anders and I got talking, and Anders he made a really solid pitch to carry the flag on. And also, I mean, we had talked about doing more of a network previously, but Anders really pushed for that. He goes, let's do the network. Let's do the network. Let's do the Shrug Collective. And I said, okay. And you guys are going to run it because I'm done. And so I started traveling early 2018 last year. And when I started traveling, I made a commitment to only act out of inspired action. And I didn't think I was going to build anything. I go, I'm not going to build anything. I'm just going to float. I sold everything I owned. I got down to 2 bags, my wife and me, and we started traveling. And
nice.
I would get paid to go to a mastermind. I'd get paid to go speak at this or that. And so I was making some money here and there, but it wasn't nearly as much as I had been making, the previous year. And it was just enough to get from point A to point B. And I was really trusting that all was going to work out. And 5 months into the journey, I hop in a float tank in Austin, Texas, and I get this huge download that, hey, you love coaches. Every client, when you look at all your clients that you've ever worked with, who are the people you still stay in contact with? Who do you hang out with? It's not really the athletes. There's not some
coaches.
Athletes that I trained and this and that. It's not even, in Barbell Business, we had a mastermind, and I coached a lot of people that were in the supplement industry and other aspects of the fitness industry, and I didn't keep in contact with them. In fact, a lot of those people would annoy me, and so not everybody, but there's some exceptions to it. And what I really got present to is that I love coaches, and I had been traveling around, dropping into different gyms, and I go, wow, there's a problem here. There's coaches are not getting paid what they need to get paid to make it full time so that they can really dedicate themselves to developing their athletes and developing their business. I go, wow, this is, and I also saw how the communication that was happening between the trainers and the clients. And I go, the communication's not great. It's just hasn't been developed yet. And I looked around the space and I go, no one's really developed this. And all this happened in the float tank where I normally get in a float tank and I hang out for an hour and a half and I really enjoy myself and I have some self-discovery and some realizations. And normally I'll ponder something for 5 minutes. I'll get to the end of it and then I'm off to the next thing. This was 90 minutes straight of the strong coach. And I go, wow, this is, and I also saw how the communication that was happening between the trainers and the clients. And I go, this is, the communication's not great. It's just hasn't been developed yet. And I looked around the space and I go, no one's really developed this. And all this happened in the float tank where it was I normally get in a float tank and I hang out for an hour and a half and I really enjoy myself and I have some self-discovery and some realizations. And normally I'll get to the end of it and then I'm off to the next thing. This was 90 minutes straight of
Just download.
And
Wow.
I got out of the tank. I knew exactly what to do. I built a landing page, built a little sales page, and I got on my podcast a few days later, said, hey, all you coaches out there, I'm building a program. I'm taking 5 people. I'm doing a beta group. Hop in, apply. I had over, I think 80 or 90 people apply for 5 spots. I let 5 people in, and I built them a 12-week program that would fit exactly what they needed. And I had all these grand ideas of what I would teach them in this. It was originally going to be 8 weeks. I had all these grand ideas of these really advanced communication skills and language and all this stuff. And I got halfway. It was maybe the 3rd module, and I go, oh, they need business. Because until we do that, they can't really even get their head out of the water enough to breathe and see what's possible.
Yeah.
And so I started teaching them business at that point too. So the Strong Coach ended up, and I got to act out of inspiration. It was really, really nice that that none of it had to do with making money. And now that company has turned into the most profitable business I've ever run. And it had nothing to do with that. It just was, I was living my life, enjoying myself, and I saw a need, and not an opportunity. I really have begun disliking the word opportunity, because there are opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, they're endless.
And most people don't know that. But when you get to a certain point, you realize if you can get your head out of the water, start breathing, looking around, you see opportunity everywhere, and it can be really distracting. And so that's one of the things I teach, is acting more out of inspiration instead of desperation. Instead of going, oh, I need money to pay bills this month. It's like, no, like, what would you be doing if that wasn't the concern? And there's a whole process to that goes beyond just imagine you had $1 million. What would you do then? Like, that's always, I mean, I've done that exercise. It's been helpful, but it only takes you so far. So, and building that, it was really, really enjoyable. And the really cool thing is it was easy for me to do, and everyone that goes through it gets incredible results. So it's one of those things where one of the things I stopped measuring success by, I used to measure success by difficulty, because especially for those of us that come from fitness, it's got to be hard to be good, right? And so we carry that over into business. Oh, it's got to be hard. Like, I got to grind.
I have to fail.
Like, Gary Vaynerchuk drives me crazy. So
I think he's becoming a bit too much. I mean, you could follow him at some point for inspiration, but if you continue to follow him for a few years, that just means you're not doing anything yourself.
Yeah, and you're going to need drugs to keep up with that guy. So, not very.
So do you feel at some point previous to Strong Coach, you were trying to fill other people's needs and wants before fulfilling your own?
Yeah.
Which kind of opened the opportunity to really help others now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was doing things, I was borrowing things from other industries, which is a great idea. Everybody should be studying other industries when they're building a business to see how they're doing something that you could bring in that's unique to the fitness industry, all that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of that still to this day. But you know what? I'm 37. I've been in business for 12 years. And a big part of that is doing what other people are doing until you get the hang of things, and then you get to do things that are truly unique. It could be a mistake for somebody in the beginning to do something truly unique from the very beginning, because you don't know the principles of business yet, and a lot of those things come with lessons. It's kind of like a training program. It's good to follow someone else's training program for a few years before you start programming for yourself, because that's how you learn, oh, this is actually how you get stronger or whatever.
Yeah, training yourself and coming up with your own programming. And that's kind of, one of the things Danny Lear brought up was, instead of trying to find needs and wants for other people, or trying to identify what's the next unicorn out there for me to work on, if you solve your own problems,
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there that have the same problems as you do. And then that's really where you can scale up, and the problems you solve for yourself are ultimately the problems you'll have, the easiest and most success solving for other people.
Yeah. I'm coaching Mike Bledsoe 10 years ago. Yeah. What does Mike need? That's my client avatar. That's who I'm marketing to. That's who I'm helping.
And that's your ideal client now then.
My ideal
Mike
client.
Bledsoe 10 years ago. And you know exactly what it took to get Mike Bledsoe from where he was then to where he is now.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy.
Well, it wasn't easy for me, but I can make it easy for somebody else.
So for these coaches and gym owners that are coming in and other people in the fitness industry, what do you identify as their biggest weakness that they're coming into this with? I mean, it must vary, I'm sure.
It does vary. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of people who, they suffer imposter syndrome. They're like, who am I? It's like part of them wants to be this great coach, and the other part of them is saying, you're not good enough yet. You got to be good. You got to do these things first. But the problem is when you have that type of belief floating around in your mind, no matter what you do, you're never going to be good enough. I've had people come into the program. They go, I got 5 certifications. I think I need to get a 6th certification before I do something like this. I'm like, whoa, chill out. And that's a belief of not being good enough that's taking over. And when you get that 6th one, it's still going to be there. And
how much of that do you think is truly like intrinsic within yourself, or what other people are telling them?
It's intrinsic. It's from their childhood. It's been with them their whole life, and they've been collecting evidence to support that the entire time. So you could say it's being supported by everyone around them, but imagine you're in a movie, right? Your life is a movie, and you're the writer, the actor, the director of your movie, and so whatever you think is true, whatever your inner dialogue is that's going on consciously and subconsciously is generating that movie. So you'll start putting yourself as a character in roles where you're not good enough. So it's easy.
Without even knowing it.
Yeah, it's easy to identify and say, well, I've got plenty of evidence. It's over here, over here, over here. I'm like, yeah, you planted that evidence. Your 5-year-old self started believing this and then started planting the evidence for it. It has to be true.
It exacerbates over time.
Because if you are in conflict with reality, that's a troubling place to go, right? Yeah. And at some point, it's good to break out of whatever reality you were living in, and let's move into a new one where it's much more empowering. So
you would say maybe self-confidence is kind of...
Confidence is one of them. Some of it's just not. Another one is people are just doing what other people are doing. They go, well, the gym down the street's charging this much. This is their model. This is the model this business is teaching. I got to work harder. They all cite somebody else in the fitness industry that says it takes hard work. I'm like, everybody is working hard. All right.
And if you're not, then you're not going to be there for very long.
Like everyone's working hard. Jason Khalipa's just fucking smarter than you. So yes, he works hard. You work hard too. But I bet you he's working on different things. And so with a strong coach, confidence, business model, finding a business model that fits you, what you want and what you need, and what's actually going to meet the clients where they need to. A big thing that a lot of people come out with is realizing that they can charge more, and they actually are doing their clients a disservice by charging less, because the level of commitment is measured in dollars. Sure. You want to have no one show up to your seminar, make it free. You want more people to show up, make it $20. I mean, there's going to be a sweet spot, Yeah. And the more you charge, the better the results are going to be. And I'm not saying you just charge like a shitload of money so that people will get results. You got to have a good product and all that. But I know that with a strong coach, we've raised our prices on that program over time. And we had a class where half the people were paying more and half the people were paying less. And the people who were paying more all got way better results. And my head coach and I looked at each other like, there you go. There's some.
Yeah, because they've really bought into the program more than the people who are paying less.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more motivation there. They want more out of it because they have the perceived value that it's worth more.
Yeah, I pay my coach. I have a coach. One of the reasons I hired the coach that I have is because of what he charges. Because I know I will not let a week go by where I don't make some type of progress. I'm not going to pay that and not make progress. I'm lighting the fire under my ass a little bit.
And the same thing kind of follows for years listening to Barbell Business. And the big thing you guys pushed was like paying your coaches, making them employees versus having someone come in, giving them a free membership and they're coaching on the side. And that's kind of the same thing as the coaches really buy into it. And people that come to your gym and your members notice that. For sure.
They know it. Like it creates the scene. It creates the culture. It's a culture of bartering, or and with maybe some value. I don't know. It gets interesting. I think the average gym is doing poorly, and it's the worst thing to consider when making business decisions.
True. So in building this business model, one of the questions I keep asking a lot of people that are coming on is business plans. Mm-hmm. Do you put an emphasis on creating a business plan or?
No. You know what?
That's the answer I keep getting from everybody.
Here's the thing. You gotta make an offer. Put together an offer. That's as far as your plan needs to go. Is what is it? When I say offer it, I mean, what is it that you're going to offer your clients? Is it how many sessions, what cost, what are the benefits they're going to get out of it? Make a really solid offer. It should be a sales page of like, here's all the benefits you get. Here are the features. This is how it's delivered. And then see what people, and then get feedback. And then go from there. For instance, I did that with Enlifted. We spent way too long creating an offer. We didn't build a business plan. We built an offer and we put it out there and we launched it at PaleoFX. And I'm glad we didn't spend too much time putting together a business plan because it changed in a single weekend. The entire model changed. We went from trying to go directly to athletes to realize that the concept of what we were offering with Enlifted was just right over their head. Yeah. And when I wouldn't even get halfway through my second sentence when talking to a coach where they're stopping me. They don't even know exactly what it is. And they're going, how do I implement this with my athletes? And I go, oh, you're my target market. Got it. All right. So like now we're selling. Now we got a different offer to coaches. And if I had spent a ton of time building out a business plan and this and that, I would have just had to change the whole thing. So I'm a big fan of creating an offer, watch what's getting traction. And here's the thing is marketing and business comes first. And marketing includes market research. And market research is putting out offers and seeing how people respond. Putting out offer, see how people respond. And putting out offers that you want to fulfill on. Not just...
Yeah, don't just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks.
No, so we did that with Enlifted, and we ended up pivoting where we go, you know what? We're going to license this education to coaches and gym owners instead of trying to go directly to athletes. And, we were going to sell it for, a few $100s per athlete. Instead, we're going to give it to gym owners for, say, right now we're looking at pricing around $500 a month for a gym to have this. And it's going to they're going to be able to put all their athletes through the program. First gym that's coming on board, 540 athletes. Wow. They're going to pay $500 a month for something that we were thinking of charging $300 a pop for. Wow. And so it's going to get distributed to them, and it's going to help improve their gym culture because it's language training, it's mindset training, it's all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit of breath. And these are things, what we identified is what is the highest leverage thing that could help athletes for. And I care less about trying to make more money per transaction than I do about, let's see how many people we can impact. Let's get to
how big of a market you could really hit.
Yeah. So let's do that. So that's an example of, if we'd spent a lot of time on business plan, it would have been bad. Now, one thing that I would recommend is when an offer hits, when an offer starts getting traction, then there's a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And outlines it's kind of like the Rockefeller habits. Outlines exactly how to create I think like a 5-year, 3-year, 1-year vision, 90-day sprints, how to execute and all that kind of stuff. That's your business plan. Your business plan is that, not some 50-page document that you take to a lawyer or a bank to get a loan. These are different things. So,
because if you would have done that, you would have wasted all that time for nothing at all and thrown in the garbage.
A lot of people do that. Shit, I did that. Right. When I opened my gym, I put together this. I remember bringing my business plan. And I was in college at the time, and I had been in the military. I was in college. So I had this idea of like, oh, I gotta do procedures. And so I went to Barnes and Noble and I found this
business
plan book, and it came with a CD. This is how long ago it came with a CD. I put in my computer, and it had spreadsheets, and it's like fill in these blanks. And I spent weeks and weeks on this business plan, and I took it to a lawyer to do the formation. And I remember he goes, "Wow, nobody does this."
And how much of that actually transferred into the business?
Almost none.
None. And that's the same. It's crazy because I asked Aaron Hine the same question. Did you make a business plan? And he said no. And he quoted Mike Tyson and said, once you get punched in the face, everything changes.
That's right.
So he considered them worthless.
That's right. Yeah, because you're going to get punched in the face. And if you're really good, oh man, you're going to get knocked out a few times.
That's great. So in dealing with these coaches, I got to assume a lot of them are burned out.
Yeah.
And burned out because they put such a burden on themselves and they're really not finding their efficiencies in their coaching. So what type of tips do you give them, or what do you coach them through in terms of how to be more efficient as a coach and ultimately in the business?
If a coach has already hit burnout, if they're already in the fuck it phase, then it's a tough turnaround. It's a really tough turnaround. You really have to take some time off if you've already hit that wall. We tend to catch coaches before that, or we've caught some coaches that weren't coaching at all. They did hit the fuck it phase, and they went and ended up working a corporate gig or working an office somewhere or something like that. And then they've joined I go, well, they joined the program. And how many clients do you have? Like, well, none now. But I've been working this corporate gig for 6 months and I want to get back into it and I want to do it right. I go, cool. And so we've had some of those. We've had people who they could feel the burnout coming. And like, if you're in the middle of total burnout, I'm not really sure what, sign up for Training Camp for the Soul. We'll get you, we'll have to push you out the other side. But it's usually people who are getting to the burnout, or they go, wow, I've been working really hard at this for 3 years and I thought it would get better, and it's the same. It feels the same. It doesn't feel any better. It's like, okay, come on in. We'll take care of this. And I've had quite a few clients that come right out of college and they're like, I just want to do this right from the beginning. And I've had a couple people do that. And then halfway through the program go, I don't even want to be a coach anymore. Wow. And I go, cool. I'm glad you figured that out. Before you these are people who are thinking, I'm going to open a gym. I'm going to do this and this. And I go, whoa. Have you mentored anyone? Have you been a part of a gym where there was a mentorship process or anything like that? And they're like, no.
Do you know what you're getting yourself into?
Go work at a gym. And when you're working at the gym, act like you own it. Act like you own it. I had an intern. She worked. I ended up hiring her, and she worked for me for a couple years after. And that was what she did. Is I go. I think I interviewed her a couple years after she wasn't working for me anymore, because she went on to start her own nutrition company. And I go, what do you think set you apart as an intern? Because I didn't hire most interns. Most interns came through and I was like, nope, not hiring you. And she interned for my gym, and then she interned for Shrugged, and then we hired her. And I go, what set you apart? She goes, I acted like that was my gym. And I go, that is the best thing I've ever heard. And I go, yeah, she would show up early, stay late, make sure things were put away, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, if you want to get an idea of what it's like to run a gym, go find a gym owner near you and just say, hey, can I help you out? and
Yeah.
act like it's yours and conversate with them and ask good questions. You'll find out real quick. I had Michael Caju of Brute Strength in my mastermind at one point, and he was contemplating gym or going online. This is right before Brute Strength. We ran all the numbers. I asked him what he wanted to do. I was like, go online. He's so glad he did now.
I'm sure he is. So do you attribute the burnout to just as a coach or as a gym owner trying to wear all the hats of your business, and I need to do the sales, I need to do the marketing, I'm not at a place where I can hire someone, and is that an issue you think for a lot of coaches?
I think coaches don't know what to do next. They see
It's like, I've opened the gym, I'm training people, I'm making ends meet. This is my hobby that I'm kind of following in on, but I don't know what's next.
It's like, I know I should be marketing. I tried Facebook ads, but it didn't work. I hear things like that, and I go, weird, because Facebook ads tend to work really well.
If you know how to use them.
When you know how to use them. And I go, well, who's running your ads? Oh, I was. Oh, okay. Mistake number one. It's a sophisticated thing, and you're a gym owner, not a Facebook ads manager. So part of it is identifying what you need to delegate first and delegating that out. And a lot of people don't even want to let that go because their own personal value is tied up in them doing it themselves. And
creates more worth for them in their eyes if they do it themselves.
And it's a subconscious thing. It's not something going like, oh, if I have someone else mop the floors, then It's a subconscious thing running in the background. It's like, I've got to work hard, and we don't have enough money to hire someone to do that yet. And so a guy I learned from way back in the day, Thomas Plummer, one of his pieces of advice, which I do like, but I don't always follow. But if you're confused about which hire to make first, hire the cheapest person first. And that's usually good because it's usually the stuff you don't want to be doing anyway, like mopping the floors, $10 an hour job, someone cleaning the place up. That's usually a really big waste of your time that could be better spent recovering so that you could show up better for your clients, or having fun, or working on the marketing, or whatever it is that you should be doing. And we have a saying that we just created last week. Whatever you procrastinate, delegate. So if you find yourself procrastinating, find someone to delegate. I procrastinate on anything financial based. If I'm running numbers and running finances and keeping books, man, it's always the last thing on my list. So someone does it for me. And we have a conversation every week, and we talk about the numbers. And it's easy for me because I have somebody who's very good at doing the numbers, having conversations with me and making meaning of those numbers.
And if you keep procrastinating, then it's just going to keep going further and further away, and it's just going to overload and be too much for you at the end of the day to find the time to even handle.
Another thing that I teach in the Strong Coach program is everyone goes, oh, time is your most valuable asset. And I say, bullshit, it's energy. Energy is your most valuable asset, because if you're only thinking about time and you're not thinking about energy, then you may end up still getting drained throughout the day doing stuff. You're like, I can do this. No. What are you inspired to do? What do you really want to be doing? And so I'm always tracking, is this draining my energy or not? Because an hour of me doing financial stuff and bookkeeping is like 5 hours of anything. Not sleep. I'll tell you that. And so if I can pack my schedule with things that are inspiring for me throughout the day, I end each day with energy, and I'm good. And nothing slowed down. I don't end up being the bottleneck for anything in my business, all that. And so a lot of people will come back and go, well, I can't afford this or that. And I go, first thing, hire cheapest thing first. And for instance, I'm hiring a social media manager today. I've been running my own Instagram for a long time. And you know what? I find myself not posting a lot. So I'm good at the stories, not so good at posting, not so good at swipe up to check out my shit. So I'm bringing someone in to do that. It's not the cheapest thing to hire, but it's close to the cheapest thing I could hire at this point, because I've got people hired for all the other things. I go, well, it's the thing that I hate the most that is going to create the most money for me in my business. And so,
correct. I mean, hiring a finance person doesn't really make you money at the end of the day.
no,
But hiring a social media person really makes a bigger impact because that's what your customers see and that's what your
true.
clients
Yeah.
see. Now, you might find efficiencies in the finance side that help you
Oh,
save on expenses.
I waste
but
money if I don't have that person. If that person's not in place, there's like subscriptions running and all sorts of shit. And well, and it does help because my placement in the business is best as a marketer, as a promoter, as the face of things. And anything that takes me away from being the face and being a promoter and a marketer is actually causing the business to lose money. So having
Correct.
someone handle the finances indirectly, it's hard to measure, but it indirectly improves the business.
Getting back to people having it as a hobby and kind of transitioning into making it more of a business and finding those efficiencies and hiring people, how do you really ingrain that in someone's head that, that's the step they need to take with people having so much self-doubt within themselves?
I think it's different for everybody. It's there's the simple accountability. We coach, and when you leave a coaching session every week, if you're in the Strong Coach, and you're going to you've got a list of 3 things that you're going to accomplish by the call the next, say, Wednesday. It's like, all right, we're meeting on Wednesdays. When you get back on the call next Wednesday, we're going to go, so how'd those 3 things go? And
you better say something.
And you're sitting there with 7 other people that are doing their shit, and everyone's looking at you. And so one way is to take action and just, you're gonna look and feel bad if you don't do it, and so it's gonna force you to do it, which is not my favorite way of getting people to do shit. But it works, and it's a good starting point.
And after 90 days, you have to imagine that week after week after you're doing this, once the program ends, it's kind of second nature at this point to continue.
Yeah, you're in a habit of taking action. A lot of people are in the habit of thinking, and thinking that that's action. Well, I've been thinking about it. How long you been thinking about it? Well, 2-3 months. I'm like, all right. Yeah, and then getting people to a point where, and I'll keep referencing Training Camp for the Soul, is we have people come to that a lot of times. Well, every time anyone comes to the Strong Coach and they end up at Training Camp for the Soul, which we only take 6 people per retreat, and we had 3 of them were coaches, and every single one of them go, oh, this is what I needed. This is because here's the thing is in the beginning of the show, I talked about alignment being emotional, mental, and action, having those 3 things aligned. And for me, the highest leverage thing you can work on is your emotional state. And so everyone has a story about their emotions. And what we do is we untie that story from the emotions, and we can look at emotions more objectively. And so we have a whole process for that. And so what ends up happening is all the things you're supposed to be doing or you want to do are being held back by this emotional friction. And so what we do with the retreat is we remove the emotional friction, and then all the stuff they learn in Training Camp or in the Strong Coach, they go home and do all of it.
The gates are open.
I don't know
now.
why that was so hard before. So it's, and people, a lot of times people need to go through, they need to go through Enlifted. They need to go through the Strong Coach. They need to go through these other programs that are really good. People getting results without going Training Camp for the Soul. Don't get me wrong. They do the Strong Coach. They get results. But for me, my personal goal is how many people can I get through that funnel? How many people can I get in Enlifted where we're teaching them, better thought processes and to mitigate, mental stress and things like that, and to help people be more focused during their training sessions and be, have a better relationship with their body and food and training. That's what that is. And then if they go, oh, this stuff is actually helpful, I go, well, if you want to really get down and dirty, then you can come over here. So what I really love is, and talking about the master plan, what I really love is I got this one thing over here that leads to this other thing right here that leads to this other thing over here.
That's that strategy. It looks like a strategy to me. Let's say a natural strategy.
It was, I could make the claim there's a subconscious thing. I was behaving out of inspiration, and Truly, when I really get my emotions, thoughts, and actions lined up, and I'm not in this, like, I'm in this more creative space versus survival space. Most people are in survival space. If I can get into this creative space, then what ends up happening is I can see patterns way far in advance. And I go, oh, I just notice things now. It's not like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking my way through it and I've got this chalkboard. This is what I used to do. I used to be on a chalkboard and I'd like work out this fucking problem, and people would see pictures of this chalkboard on Instagram like, dude, he must be working on stuff. And I was, but I don't have to do that anymore. It's it's really gotten to the point where it's like, oh, I feel emotionally free. Oh, this is the obvious next step. I'm not attached to my previous idea. People get attached to their ideas. They go, my idea is important. We got to do it. It's like, no, it's not. It's not important. Yeah. Someone else has a great idea. Let's do that. Oh, let's take a piece of this. Oh, I see how this flows right here. That just wasn't possible before. I couldn't think that clearly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I guess the end of the story is really just float more.
Yeah.
Right.
Hop in the tank.
More floating. Mike has got me floating all the time now. Nice. It's great. So when you talk to these coaches and they've kind of gotten past the personal side and they're looking at a vision for their business, there's a lot of, the market's obviously getting saturated with all these new businesses, F45, Orange Theory. Do you see a lot of coaches, they should be focusing on, the path they're trying to go to, the vision they have for their business? Do you see a lot of them getting just confused or blindsided that they are trying to compete with all these other gyms that are coming in the market, or these other training methods, as opposed to just following their true vision?
Oh yeah. I mean,
you can't please
everybody. Yeah, that's an interesting statement, in that most people are looking at what other people are doing, and it's nowhere close to what they want to do, and yet they're still freaking out about it. Or
they think they can make money, or it's just the latest and greatest,
or copying it, or whatever. I think it's a mistake. I think, there's a place for learning from other businesses, but not from a place of being threatened by it or anything like that, and just really being able to look at it objectively and go, oh, what works here? I walked by an F45 yesterday. What's today, Monday? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's Saturday. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I was downtown San Diego. I was just walking to get brunch, and I see kettlebells being swung, and I hear this really fun music, and I go, wow, and I peek inside, and they've got a fucking DJ in there.
Yeah, they got
DJs. A DJ in there. I go, and I've been talking about putting a DJ in a workout space for a couple years. I was like, man, if we could just like get some deep house in here, there would be a much better experience. And I saw them do that. I go, I hope more people adopt that. That's something to pay attention to. You look at F45, they bring them in. I think I was told every Saturday they bring a DJ in. I go, you know what? That's a good idea. Take that one. But you might want to leave the pricing model behind.
And, a lot of people, I guess, are scared of, if they don't create that personalized approach to their clients, when something new comes on the block, they're going to lose their clients. Yeah. So I guess you really don't have to worry about these other gyms coming into your area or coming down the block for you, because if you've really established your gym or your coaching as a really personalized service and people buy into what you're offering, then you should be happy that there's something down the street that they're not flocking to.
It's all about relationships. Let's build really solid relationships and be of service. One of the things that we teach is we teach people how to listen. And I find that was actually one of the big things that tipped me off right before I launched the program. I watched numerous coaches in different gyms, and I was watching them have a conversation with their clients, and I go, holy shit, he doesn't even hear her. He doesn't even know what she wants. And so clients aren't leaving because they're a shiny object down the road. They're leaving because you didn't build a really solid relationship. You're not actually listening to what they want and need. And our job as coaches is to be of service and find out, what does this person need to know? What does this person need to do for the very next step in their journey? And we tend to, as coaches, I think, tend to overeducate our clients with things they don't need to know or want to know, or something that's 10 steps down the road that's not even applicable to them for the next year.
So do you think, there's a lot of, what's the new one coming out? OPEX now really takes a more personalized approach to their training. That seems like what you're mentioning and what you're talking about here.
Maybe, I think there's a way of a really good coach can give personalized touches in a group setting. A really good example of this, and you ought to interview this guy, is Leo Savage. Are you familiar with
Okay,
Leo?
yeah. No, I follow.
Yeah.
Yep, Savage
Yeah.
Mace.
So he
Yeah.
does the mace stuff. He has this whole community. And man, what I love about those guys is what he created was community. He created, and I don't know if we can attribute it all to Leo, but I do. And
Just his character and he's almost created, not in a bad way, but like a cult following of people that have really just bought into the type of person he is because he's just real. He's himself. He's
Here's
not
the
out there
deal.
to please anybody.
99
He's just being himself.
99% of cults are good, and it's the 1% that gives the rest a bad name.
Yeah.
And Leo, yeah, there's a cult following there. I participate. I went to his very first certification. I swing mace a couple times a week. I'm not a complete mace head, but I fucking dig it. It's a whole new. Well, he's done something really unique. He's added flow into training, and there's really good strength and conditioning principles and movement that he's using, but in the context of something that looks a lot more like dancing or a martial art. And so like when I'm training with Leo, it's like, wow, this is part martial art, part dancing, part strength and conditioning. Okay. And so he was able to create an experience. He has taught people how to create an experience for themselves, and that's what that cult following is about getting together as a group. Let's smoke a J and swing a mace, and if you haven't done that yet, it's the best. And he's not doing individualized training, but
no, he's doing it in a group setting or his online programming.
That's right. And if you go train with him, I remember I trained with him last month in Austin, about a month ago. And there was a dozen of us in the room, and we all traded leading flows. But while we were all training, he would come over to me and like teach me a flow and then make sure I was doing it right, and then just rotating around the room. It was individualized attention in a group setting. And what was happening before and what was happening after, we all went and got some barbecue afterwards. That's the kind of stuff that gets people. So you don't have to do individualized approach, but you have to be relational in how you're interacting, because I know a lot of people doing individualized training that have no idea how to listen to people. Correct. Like, oh, these are the numbers. I got this. I'm a mechanic and you're a fucking machine, and I'm going to like plug these numbers in. And if you don't do it, fuck you. Like being able to consider the whole human and read that person's body language and what they're saying and what it means to them. It all matters a lot. And by the way, Leo Savage was one of my clients. So
nice. And I think the thing that I appreciate most about Leo is obviously with all these social media influencers that think they're trainers and coaches, they always post these videos of things that are just like always perfect. They always look edited and filtered. And he posts these flows and he shows where he'll fail at a flow. Yeah. But you could see that like if he did it perfect every time, people would just get so like taken back. Like, I'm not going to try this because if he looks perfect all the time. But if he shows that he's a failure and he's a human, like it kind of opens a door for, I got to try this also.
Oh yeah.
So to kind of close this up a little bit, I got a few questions here. So in terms of business, let's say you're in a bind here. You got a really big business issue you got to deal with. You got one phone call to get out of business jail free. Who are you calling?
Woo.
Anybody.
Calling my CMO.
Your CMO?
Yeah.
They're going to help you? What is the reason for that?
Valerie. She understands business development and just every angle of business. And she also is the most networked person in the business world that I know.
So if she doesn't know, she will find someone that will know.
Yeah, I lean on her. She's my rock when things get confusing. I go, what do you think? She either knows and has a suggestion, or she knows who to go talk to about it.
Nice. So if I were to ask Chris from Texas, just hypothetically speaking, who's in a bind with his business, trying to take that next step, or it's a hobby and he's trying to scale his business into business. And he says, I'm going to call Mike Bledsoe. What type of advice are you going to give him?
Depends on the bind.
Stuck in a rut. Let's say he's not going to make it 2 more months, but he's a coach and he wants to turn it into a business and scale it. What type of motivation do you give him to keep going and just not give up?
Start asking him questions about what he really wants.
If he's really in it.
What do you really want? Tap into your body. Get out of your head. Get in your body. What's your body telling you? What does your intuition tell you? People talk about intuition, but they don't even know what it is. That's your body. Your body is sending you more data than your brain could ever process. And putting your attention down there and asking yourself the big questions, you'll feel it in your chest. You'll feel it in your gut on what to do and what not to do. Most people will not do that, will not trust that, because they're in the habit of not trusting it. And it's because we were taught to not trust our body. Sit still 8 hours a day, don't move. If you move, you're in trouble. Memorize, regurgitate. The mind is so important. Fuck your body.
Fuck your body. Or just go in a flow tank and come up with this master plan strategy. I think I'm going to go into a float tank right now. Float for a few hours and come up with a big plan.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you very much for joining us on FitBiz Talk. I really appreciate it. And best of luck with Strong Coach and Enlifted and Training Camp for the Soul and whatever else you come up with.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And that's a wrap on episode 2 of FitBiz Talk with Mike Bledsoe. If you want to find Mike Bledsoe on social media, you can find him on Instagram at Mike_Bledsoe. Or if you want to check out his projects, at Training Camp for the Soul, at Enlifted Athletes, at The Strong Coach. Highly recommend any of those projects if you're really looking to take yourself as an individual and as a business to the next level. If you'd like the show, please go to iTunes, leave us a review, subscribe. We got plenty more of these interviews coming to you with more knowledge than you can handle. I'm Sebastiano Mangiafico, and this is FitBiz Talk.